Hey world,
Rev the Saint here.
I am Reverend Meagan. We are two queer black women.
We are ordained ministers who really love God
and love to cut up, love to get down
and
get real. We move by the spirit, the beat, and our authentic beings.
We are ready to share our truth and our journey of love, life, and liberation. This is our time and our space to simply be.
We are two revs with no church, gathering all those who want to get into the conversation about faith, hope, and love.
What up, world? What up, what up, what up? I'm Rev the Saint and
I'm Reverend Meagan.
And we are here on another episode of Two Revs, No Church. And today we talking about what we talking about. What is we talking about?
We're talking about community
and accountability.
There you go.
Listen, we stemming this from Psalms 121. I will lift up my eyes to the hill.
Psalms 120. Psalms
from which cometh my help. Where your help come from?
The Lord.
My help cometh from the Lord which made heaven and earth. God said, okay, so let's get into it. What is accountability for you, Meagan? What does that mean to you?
What's going on? What's good?
You know.
Good. It's good.
You know, I'm pushing it on you.
I don't know why. That's what I'm saying. What's good? Because I'm gonna just let the people know. We had a whole discussion before this, and I told this wonderful, beautiful, get on my nerves being. I said you gonna have to step first because this is not a topic that's my strong suit. Is it because you lack accountability? And this wonderful and this wonderful, beautiful, get on my nerves human being just put me out there. So what is accountability? So we can't say accountability without community. Yeah. Because the show is about accountability and community. I'm gonna start out with what gets on my nerves. This is what gets on my nerves. And the thing that gets on my
cheeks, they're so shiny.
And this light was like,
I've been on the sun all day. No, I've been kissed by the sun today. I was working on. Okay, we digress. Go ahead. Accountability and community.
So accountability and community. See, here's the thing. This is what gets on my nerves. And it gets on my nerves because, just say it, Meagan. Here's the thing, is that a lot of folks do not like to be held accountable by community. And a lot of these folks that I'm thinking of are folks that are pastors, are folks that are seminary trained, are folks that are degree. They don't like to be held accountable by community. Let me tell you a really harsh way I was held accountable. I'm gonna put my business out there. Yeah, I don't care.
I guess you needed a discussion.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna say this and then you go. I was denied a license in my denomination. I was denied a license, and my denomination is UCC, United Church of Christ. I was denied a license to serve the Eucharist. That's a fancy word to serve communion. I was denied. I had to go before a body of folk, because we don't have a hierarchy in UCC, it's association. So I had to go before the association in Philadelphia, and I was denied my license because they said, you aren't ready, you aren't this, you aren't that, you didn't answer the questions fully and correctly. And look, my eyes twitching because I'm remembering that time. My eyes started twitching. That's a sure tell sign for me that I'm going back to the pain. But anyway, so when I was denied, I remember I was like, that night, I was like, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? And I remember I told I'm going to tell more of my business, told my wife at that time, now we're divorced, but told my wife at that time, it's so messy. It's so messy. I told my wife at that time, and she was very supportive. She said, so what, we leaving the UCC, what we going to do? You going to start your own thing? I said, no. I'm going to study harder. They said, we want you to go back and take, I had already graduated from seminary. They said, we want you to go back and take 2 or 3 more classes. We want you to write a paper. We want you to do all this stuff. What did I do? I went back, took the classes. I wrote the paper, came back before them. When I say I studied my behind off, but let me tell you something, that community that held me accountable shifted and changed not only my relationship with God, but how I show up, how I don't show up in my ego. Because before then, I was showing up in my ego. Like, oh, I got it. I'm in seminary. I go to this church. I know this person. I know that person. This is going to be fine. God was like, let me stop you right there, because this ain't about your ego. This is about your spirit. And they're going to see that your spirit ain't grounded. So they're going to deny you. And that's exactly what happened. I would not have that happen any differently. The fact that that community held me accountable shifted how I show up for myself and how I show up in my gifting and how I show up in the fact that in the calling that God has given to me.
But you wasn't always okay with it. Like there was a season where you was upset with that community for holding you accountable.
I was irritated. I'm gonna be real plain. I was irritated with the association that held me accountable, but I was more upset with the direct community, the church community I was a part of, because they didn't allow themselves, I'm gonna say it plain, they didn't allow themselves to be held accountable for the fact that I wasn't prepared.
Well, I love community. So, I mean, I love accountability.
Can I just say this real quick?
Yeah.
Dasha is the Diddy. Let me tell y'all this. And it's going to come out more. Dasha is the Diddy of like spiritual community. Like, and it's going to become bigger. Like, it's because she has this gift. She is the Diddy and the Jamie Foxx. Because you know how Diddy and Jamie Foxx throw the best
I really don't know what it is, though. Seriously, I don't. So I remember. So it's so funny that you said that. So I remember the first time that was spoken to me was in seminary. It was I was presenting my last presentation for my senior year. I forget what they call it. Shout out to Melva Sanson, who was my mentor and guided me through that. And I was presenting it, and you're able to invite folks. So you know me, I'm inviting everybody.
She handed out flyers.
I just said that I'm about to present my presentation. It's on this. Please come out. And when the facilitators and those who were reviewing, the body that was reviewing my work came into the door, they were like, "Oh, you are a gatherer of the people," because it was packed, right? And all I did was ask. But I also think it comes from the way that I was raised, in my mother's household. I mean, we always had someone living with us. My mom is also someone who's like always preparing food for people. Like anything my mom is always healing folks. Shout out to you, mommy. And so even my father's is a helper. We are people person, and we are family oriented. We love parties. We love to gather. We love to celebrate. And even in those times of mourning and pain and grief, we love to be with people. And so I think that's what it's just natural. And so I love community, and I probably talk about community all the time. It's so funny because I am so much of an introvert. It's like, I'm an introvert. I can be by myself, I live by myself, and I can be by myself and very tunnel vision at times, but I also need community for the energy to come back and to do the work that I need to do. But with the accountability part, sometimes I think we need to really assess those we choose to be accountable for, and to be and be our accountability partner. Because I also believe that some people, if you don't assess them well enough, They will hold you accountable to the old you. Not the growth you, not the you that are just trying to become, you know, hold you accountable to, you know, the you that they always knew you to be, you know what I'm saying? And yet God is trying to grow you and move you. Like, I've made some mistakes in my past. Yes, I know, you know, teenage Dasha, but can you see past the me that you used to know and see where God is moving? And for me, I've learned in my young age that I can't have everybody hold me accountable, because I feel like there are people that limits me to my growth. And so I have my top 5. I have top 5. You actually part of my top. Did you know you was part of my top 5?
I didn't know, but I was sitting here when she said top 5. I was like,
So yeah, like most recently, I made a list of who are my top 5 people at this point in my life. You know, living I'm in 4 decades in now, right? That I think can hold me accountable to my journey here, you know. And in my 30s, you know what I'm saying, those sets of people were different. In my 20s, you know, I think I really started thinking about accountability around 20s, not 18 teenage years, nah. But in my 20s, my goals were different, you know, and the people were different. But this leg of the race, man, my accountable, man, I got some powerhouses.
Let me ask you this, because someone needs to hear this. How do you know? Because you said, you know, some people who hold you accountable hold you to your old self. Well, how do you know? Like, what is your criteria for someone being accountability partner for you?
That's a good question. I think for me, and because I'm let me just say, I'm a person who analyze. I'm very analytical, and I think things through thoroughly. My accountability people are people who will call me out of my shit. People who will let me know that, Dasha, your shit stay too. You know, I know. Sorry, I gotta be real here. Excuse the profanity.
Who you saying sorry to? You ain't never heard that word?
I'm just saying, if you got your kids listening to us.
They heard that word. Anyway, go ahead.
So people who are honest with me, who are afraid to have some real conversations and pull some real things to the table, both ways. Reciprocity. Reciprocity is a big thing for me in accountable relationship, because I've been in a one-sided relationship, friendships, where I'm pouring out to people, and you know, they're always asking me for advice, but they don't check up on me. They don't ask me how I'm doing. They just call and ask for advice, and it's like, and I could be having like a shitty day and I'll have nothing to give out, right? Someone I can have fun with too. Like it's not like and fun doesn't mean like we're going on vacation, because like my top 5 ain't all people I'm traveling with, but people that I can have like a genuine laugh with. You get what I'm saying? Like I can say something and it's like you ain't too tight or rigid. You get what I'm saying? And we can just laugh, like right. And so and also accountability partner for me is not necessarily someone that knows all the ins and out of my relationship. So there are of my life. You know what I'm saying? So I think there are accountability partners that can be focused or some people may want to call them mentors. There's so many names. We're saying accountability, but folks that in ministry, in relationships, you know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to deposit everything on one person. I mean, listen, build you a little community of people. Listen, that's why I have a therapist, I have a spiritual director. I mean, I have friends, and I don't give them all of me, because my thing is they have enough of themselves to give, you know what I'm saying, give out or hold on to. So I think we need to be careful and mindful about that as well. So those are the things for me that I look for accountability.
Yeah, and let me just say this, because I've run into this issue in my ministerial career, is that just because, and also in the career before my career in ministry, just because someone is successful in the career that you're, or in the work that you're doing, in the gifting that you have, don't be so quick to give them the title of, oh, they're my accountability partner because they're successful, or they're making money, or they're a little bit further than I am. Because let me tell you this, and I want you to lean in, kids, listen closely, is that everybody, I'm going to say everybody has their own agenda. And there's only some people who will realize that your agenda is your agenda, and you don't have to make your agenda part of somebody else's life. This is what I mean. I've run into so many folks, so many ministers, pastors, who I told them, like, this is my dream, this is my calling. And then they would just disregard it because they already had an agenda for their life, and they inserted me into it. So every time I would come to them and be like, hey, so I want to do this, I want to do that, they would manipulate it in such a way where my agenda would take a back seat, or my calling, or what God was calling me to do would take a back seat, so that I could be a part of their agenda. Do not make someone your accountability partner just because they appear successful, or they appear like they got it going on, or they appear like what's another, I don't know. But don't do it just because of that. No, don't think they're so magical that you have to tap into their magic. You have your own magic. You have your, didn't I say something like this today? you have your own magic. Okay? Yeah.
I want to also add this, as we're wrapping up the show. You were saying about
that's to tell me to stop talking and thinking. No, I'm only playing. Go ahead. I'm just playing.
Because we're coming toward the tail end of our show, okay. You know. Yeah, you need to get that music.
No, say what you're going to say.
Because you said something that I think was important, like as far as like who we look for accountability. So, you know, all of my accountability partners don't know that they're my accountability. My nephew, who is 7 years old, is part of my accountability, because he holds me accountable to play. And anytime I am with him, he's going to remind me Dasha needs to play. My godchild, who is 10 years younger than me, who is, I would have never thought, and this is like just now has been added to my accountability, because I only had 3, so I had to add 2 more. And these are the 2 that I've added. My nephew, because I need more play in my life, and my godchild, who we connected in, we've always connected, but we connected in this other realm, in this other way. And it was on time in a season of my life where God was shifting me in a place that I could not see, but I thank God has positioned herself in a place where she is able to see and speak to me in ways that is painful. Ooh, it is painful. But I receive it because I know the hands of God is upon her life. And so shout out to my Gotti, Taki, you know who you are. All right, so we gotta wrap this thing up. But I mean, you got one more thing to say. Go ahead, wrap it up.
No, I'm trying to count my accountability people. You got 5, I want 5.
Well, I'm Khyle Wooten. I'm from Philly. I currently reside in Tallahassee, Florida. I'm a doctoral student at Florida State in music education. Yep, I've been a little bit all over the place in terms of my faith journey, and it kind of coincides with my journey with school and music. My journey with faith started in my family, with my family church. We kind of had 2 independent legacies going on in Philly. My uncle was Benjamin Smith, who is the pastor of Deliverance Evangelistic Church. And my great-grandparents started a movement in South Philly with St. Mary's Holiness Church, which came to be known as Wooten Tabernacle. So 2 places in the city, 2 different kind of legacies, and I was caught between both of them. My entrance into the faith was deeply rooted in my family, but those roots are really are deep in music. When I feel like when my faith intersected with my queerness in terms of a sense of awareness, um, I was 13 years old. I was 13 years old at a church convention in North Carolina. I wrote a huge letter to my family, and it was my coming out letter, to which they didn't, easily accept. And so there weren't many conversations around it, only because my family didn't have language for it, and they refused to have a conversation about it. So homosexuality in terms of this lens of Blackness and then being a product of the Black church. Those were lines my family did not cross, particularly because there were legacies and images to uphold. And I was smack dab in the middle of that. So a 13-year-old Khyle, kind of had to comply. I have been able to connect with people who have the education, who ask the questions, who do the work on the ground in the academy and so forth. And I couldn't be more thankful for my journey in that way, although it's not linear. There have been it's been a bevy of twists and turns to get here, but my ways of being and knowing um, and communing with God and with people is so much more African centered. It's so much more in a way that allows me to look within for healing, for answers, for comfort, for more journeying, to healing those pockets and those wounds that are still there, from childhood, by way of um, my conditioning, my socializing in the faith. Um, I love God, I believe God, I trust God, and but I don't know all of God, and I don't think I ever will, and that's okay because this journey is, again, it's going to be full of winding turns, and whatever my destiny is beyond music, beyond education, all of the experiences that precede that have been God ordained, and no experience I've ever had has been outside of a community.
Woo! Can I just say you are so beautiful? I mean, you are physically beautiful, but I see your spirit within, and it's beautiful. Every time I hear you sing, it's beautiful.
When my last encounter with Meagan was at Empowering Word, and it was a 7 last word service with featuring a Voice for All People, which was a choir I was playing for, headed by Tamara Devlin. And Meagan prayed with me, and she could see that I remember the words. She said, "I pray that God will take away the sadness."
Mm. You don't even remember that.
No, I succinctly remember that because it was at a time when I was giving up one community for another, and it was also at a time when I had a lot of decisions to make as to how I wanted to explore faith, how I wanted to express queerness, and how I wanted to curate and be a part of a more excellent or more latitudinal kind of a community. And it made me sad because there were a lot of things in those former legacies, in those former ways of being and knowing, that I had to give up and walk away from. And it made me sad because I knew that I would no longer be invited into certain spaces. I knew that it would be hard. I would be hard pressed to go back into those spaces, if I wanted to. I knew that there were people, places, and things that I would have to concretely give up for something new. And that something new was years in the making to making a happier Khyle. And your prayers, Meagan, did not fall on deaf ears. And I really want to thank you.
I gotta go, child. Give me a minute. And she really is gonna go. But she's right. I don't even know what to say. I'm trying to say something, but the spirit is like, you have nothing to say. So why are you trying to say something? It's okay. Dasha said, just receive it. So
it's funny. And after Meagan prayed that prayer, the very next Sunday, I believe I became a member of Empowering Word, and Pastor Clayton prayed the same prayer. I pray that you will move and navigate beyond this place of sadness, and that God, however God decides to do it, will bring you into a space of joy. And 10 years later, I just couldn't be more grateful to and it's beyond getting a PhD. It's beyond coming into a university teaching position. It's just that I love the space that I take up. I love thank you, God. I love the space that I take up as a human that is being.
Yes.
And
yes,
that so and what I was so afraid to give up, what I was so afraid to trade in, as it were, it didn't compare, because the relationships that I lost, the clout that I lost, the name that I lost, it just didn't compare to what was, the scripture says, the glory that'll be revealed. But it had to be revealed in me.
Yes.
And that it's said in a lot of different spaces, but I think the same thing rings true, is that there's no difference between the sacred and the secular. And the same ancestors, the same legacies, that I was so afraid of disappointing as a child and as a young adult. I feel like those relationships with those ancestors and those legacies, they're meeting me on this side. And they're cheering me on. They're cheering me on in ways that I never imagined, because I had to reckon with legacies and ancestors as a Khyle that wasn't fully realized, obviously, at 7 or 8 years old, or even at 23. Now at 33, some things have happened. I am in a space of gratitude now for all of it. Yeah, there's still things I want to fuss about, still things that I want to cuss about, and that's fine. And even if I don't get everything right on this side, it's okay. It's okay. But this skin, this body, this queerness, this mind, this love, these gifts, these talents, the imperfections, of course, I love all of it. It's an all-inclusive love that is no longer painful. We used to sing what's the song we used to sing at offering time? The Jesus in me loves the Jesus in you and makes it so easy to love. And
so easy.
So yes. It's so it's easier to look at this Khyle in the mirror and to praise him and to find him worthy and to call him excellent and to call him called.
And to call him called.
Because there was a time I just didn't believe that I was, and that the call on my life was a counterfeit.
What song do you sing to yourself when you're loving on yourself? Is there a particular song that you like to sing to yourself?
That's good.
God has not promised me sunshine. That's not the way it's going to be. But a little rain mixed with God's sunshine,
yes.
A little pain helps me appreciate the good times. So be grateful. Oh, be grateful, for it will be all right. It's a song that I sing to myself. Not just when times are dark, but because the word says we've got to get a little rain mixed with God's sunshine, and perhaps the sunshine and the rain are giving us something that we need. There was a letter that I wrote to myself recently, and I said, I am loved by the sun and the rain. And that the rain is rain. It's not necessarily negative. It's just as beneficial than the sun. It's just as beneficial as the sun. And sometimes we have to have a little of both. And I no longer subscribe to a theology of suffering and suffering perpetually, but I believe that experiences of sunshine and rain, metaphorically, it can give us some insight about where we are, what we're hoping for, and perhaps it could ground us in what is. And for all of that, I'm just grateful.
Two Revs No Church is powered by the Saint Media, Jiggy Jazz Production, and B. Paul Mobley.
Two Revs No Church is sponsored by Pennsylvania Southeast Conference of the United Church of Christ.